What is a bail-in? We have all heard of bailouts, but you may not have heard of a bail-in. I'm Professor Capko, and I'm going to explain that to you today. But first, I want to say that I believe something great is going to happen for you today. And now, on to the video. What is a bail-in? We're talking about the banking system and the banking crisis that has been making the news lately. If you haven't been paying attention to the banking crisis, you may want to do some research on that. And I do have a prior video discussing the fractional banking reserve system. You may want to take a look at that one as a starter. I've linked it up in the upper right-hand corner for you. But let's start first with the definition. All right, the following is from Investopedia. It's a website that I do recommend as a starting spot for definitions and such. This is going to tell you bail-in, definition, and role in a financial crisis. The simple definition is a bail-in is relief to a financial institution on the brink of failure by requiring cancellation of debts owed to creditors and depositors. Now, wait a minute. What's a debt owed to a depositor? Well, let's talk about that. If you take your money and you deposit it at a bank, that money is no longer yours. That money is now in the hands of the bank, and they give you basically an IOU. You are lending that money to the bank, and you are what's called an unsecured creditor. Now, everything that I talk about in here is not legal advice. It's not financial advice. It is not accounting advice. This is for educational purposes only, but I do want to make sure that I have an educated audience. And let's talk about what that means to be an unsecured creditor. Of course, there is FDIC insurance for deposits at a bank, certain deposits at a bank up to $250,000 as of the creation of this video. Now, that would mean that anything above $250,000 would not be insured. We've seen in some cases, particularly in banks that are so-called too big to fail, and in specific institutions such as the Silicon Valley Bank, the government and the FDIC has agreed to protect depositors, all depositors, even those above the $250,000 threshold. That may not always be the case, and you need to protect yourself accordingly. And remember, if you don't have $250,000 in the bank, that doesn't mean that you don't have anything to be concerned with, because many companies and municipalities and institutions may have more than that in the bank, and if they lose that, they may not be able to continue business, and that will have a direct impact on the economy. And even if the government does backstop it, that might mean a tremendous amount of dollars being printed, and that would definitely have an impact upon inflation. So there's many things to consider, and let's look into this a little bit further. So bail-in provides relief for financial institutions on the brink of failure by requiring the cancellation of debts. We already talked about that. Now, is this something that has happened anywhere before? Well, yes, it has happened in Europe. It has already happened. And you might say, well, that's Europe. That's not going to happen here, because you can see in the European Union, it has occurred, particularly in Cyprus. And we do have a protection here up to 250,000, but let's take a look down here. Is it legal in the United States? Well, is it legal? Yes, it is. This is another article from Investopedia, which indicates after the 2008 financial crisis, the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Act was passed in 2010, and that allows for bank bail-ins. 2008 crisis, banks that were deemed too large to fail were bailed out. That was a huge expense to taxpayers. Frank eliminated those bailouts and opened the door for bail-ins. And again, bail-ins is where the money on deposit at the bank is used to save the bank, and it will not be returned to depositors. Now, we do have the $250,000 limit. I don't want you to forget about that, but it is important to know that bail-ins are definitely a possibility. Bail-ins and bailouts are designed to provide a protection against a complete collapse of the financial. Bail-ins are law, it's allowed, and they may use their capital when governments can't bail them out. And you do need to protect your assets. So particularly if you have anything above $250,000 in one single bank, you need to be concerned if your employer does, or if other institutions that you rely upon have more than $250,000. So it could have a big impact upon the economy. So you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself and you get yourself in the best position possible to protect your assets. Diversify and look into other places to place your money so it's not all in one place, and don't count on the income that you have right now to continue into the future. You may want to diversify not only your assets, but diversify your income. So we can talk about other ways to do that in the future, in future videos, but I wanted to at least let you know what bail-in is and make sure you're aware of it, and make sure that you are not caught because that's above the $250,000 FDIC protection can be used for a bail-in for a bank. So keep that in mind. If you're finding this information helpful, please smash the like button and also subscribe to my channel. Most of the people watching my videos have not yet subscribed, so I appreciate if you do so. If you have questions or comments, put them down in the comments below, and I'll try and get back to you. Thank you.